Aliens. For Galileo, they are nothing more than a fantasy that his best friend Nicky is obsessed with. Like fairies and witches, they are just another story to keep people entertained. That's why he laughed at her notion that his mom was an alien. Why wouldn't he? She may be the weirdest person he's ever met, but that's just because she's not from around here. He could never have guessed just how right Nicky was. Now, trapped in an intergalactic war, Galileo is forced to choose a side: stay with his mother and return to the only life he's ever known, or embrace his new identity and accept his life his mother stole from him. My Mom, the Intergalactic Terrorist. Written by Madison Rosapole. Narrated by Dan Jones. Hello. Today I will be reviewing My Mom, the Intergalactic Terrorist by Madison Rosapole. So, to start with, this is my first audiobook review. If you stick around to the end and you are an author and would like to have an audiobook of yours reviewed on this channel, please, like I said, stick around to the end and I will share with you how to get that done. Let's begin where most people begin, with the cover. Now, I like to start here because of the fact, as an author myself, one of the biggest questions I usually see other authors asking other authors is, what makes you want to buy a book? A lot of the times people say it's the cover. For me, it's very circumstantial. Sometimes a really good cover can pull my interest if I see it on a shelf. With the coronavirus, though, that tends not to be the case. And I don't go book shopping online very often. Mostly because I don't have the time to sit and read a book. However, I do have the time to listen to books quite often throughout my day. So, audiobooks is my way of reading new books. So to start with, I usually like to ask myself, how likely would I be to buy this product based on the cover? And for My Mom, the Intergalactic Terrorist, I would probably say that the cover needed a little work. It does have sort of a sci-fi look to it and a dreamy look to it, but I feel like it could have used a little bit more. So possibly down the road, maybe the author will get a better cover for her book. But would I be likely to buy this book based on the cover? Not without checking it out. If I heard a good chunk of the story, like a full chapter, or I saw other people review the paperback or ebook, and it got rave reviews, and then I would listen to a sample of the audiobook, I might be willing to check it out. So, that's my review for the cover. Moving on to the title, does this title work for this book? And yes, I have to say, it's spot on. It's perfect for this book. It has that sci-fi feel. It doesn't give too much away. And it kind of relays a bit of what you're in for. Now, I will say that, it does kind of... You already know from the very first word that this is where it's going to go. So what did I think of the story overall? I really liked it. I thought it was a really good story. Now, I'll talk about the ending of the story after I get through each section of my review. But overall, the story was really good. It follows this boy who has a best friend that's very into sci-fi, very into aliens and alien conspiracies, and it starts off with she's bugging him about constantly the two of them making jokes that maybe his mom might be an alien because she's very weird. She does things that are kind of strange and can't seem to pick up on things other people would find easy. Because of this, and because of the title, you kind of already know the answer to it. But that's part of the fun, is building up to the main character becoming aware of it. Moving on to characters. So what did I think of the characters? They were very relatable. The dialogue between the characters was very realistic. Unfortunately, because this is a sci-fi, I do have one minor gripe with the characters. And that is that, as you can pretty much already tell from the title, they do end up going into space. And the main characters end up meeting aliens. Well, it's a little convenient that the aliens speak the same language that we speak here on Earth. And I understand that's for the simplicity of moving the story along. But there are some common terms that we would probably only use here on Earth. Like the phrase as if is used. But an alien uses that. And I think that would be a saying like that mostly we would only have on Earth. There are a couple moments like that. It's really teeny tiny, really small. But it just feels like a lot more could have been done with the aliens versus humans section. I think the aliens might have needed to be expanded on a little bit more. A little bit more of the backstory of the villain, too, might have helped. Especially towards the end, which I will get to that at the end. But moving on, going with narration. The narration was really, really good. In fact, the narration and the way the story was told on the author's part, not just the narrator's part, but the way the writer wrote it, really brought me into the story and really kept me in. It made me feel like I was listening to Ready Player One again, because it's told from the perspective of the main character. There are two sections where it switches to the secondary main character, and those times, I don't know if it was the narrator who read it, or if it was just the way it was written, but I feel like that needed to be spotlighted a little better, like maybe saying, from this character's perspective, continuing on, or some kind of switch. I know in the Game of Thrones series, if there's a chapter that switches to another character, I believe that chapter begins with that character's name. Just something like that, so we would have known we were switching over to a different character, because for the first few sentences, you kind of have to realize, oh, they've switched over to this person. Okay, I got it now. Because then you're like, what's going on? But the narration was done really well. The writing seemed to be very good. There was nothing too confusing with the writing. Things were properly explained as far as, how this alien society works for the most part. There was a slight hiccup in chapter 7 of the audiobook. So if you're reading this on a paperback or an ebook, I'm sure you won't have any trouble. I have been told that the audiobook is being corrected, so that's good for the author, that's being done. I just wanted to, point it out that if you've already got the audiobook, don't worry, it's being fixed. But yeah, the narration was really good, and it kept the story moving along, and every time I had to stop listening, I couldn't wait to get back into the story. And in my eyes, that's what makes a really good audiobook. So now I'm going to move on to the extras. And I'm going to start with the dialogue. Like I said earlier, there could have been a little bit more fun dealt with dealing humans versus alien form of dialogue. Like the humans could have said something, like the human children could have made a statement using some slang term or something, and the aliens would have needed it explained, thinking it's really weird they're saying that phrase or word. Um, but as far as conversations went, conversations were really good. They didn't feel weird or forced at all, so that was pretty good. The audio level was pretty good. I mean, it was perfect. I didn't have any trouble hearing anything. I think the narrator, though, there were certain times when a character was whispering, I think, and he just read it normally. But that's just a minor nitpick on my part. The ending. So, to talk about the ending, I will say I like how it ended, but it felt just the slightest bit rushed. Now, I'm not sure exactly if that was intentional, and where it ends, there are many possibilities if the writer decides to continue this story and turn it into a series. But if it's a standalone, it's a perfect, fine ending for where the story goes. I don't want to say what it is, but there are two ways this story could go moving forward. And one good one is that basically this ending was a lie. I don't know if that's what the author's going to do, and I don't want to put my own thoughts of what I think the ending could be, because I don't want to push the author into saying, oh, well, that's what that person wants. I would I re-listen to this? Yes, I would re-listen to this, especially if there is a sequel or more books that keep coming out. I would definitely re-listen to this before I listen to the next one, because I would want to refresh myself of the story and then see where it's going to go from there. I am very interested to see where this world or this galaxy takes us in future stories. If it doesn't go anywhere, then this was a perfect ending. It was just fine. You don't need to expand anymore. We got the perfect ending, and we can assume what we want to assume about where the story went from there. It could be they lived happily ever after. But as of now, the way it is, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of possibilities. And it'd be interesting to see where the writer takes it. So I judge audiobooks based on a score of 1 to 10. You get a 1 just for making the story, making the audiobook, getting it done, getting it completed. But that's the lowest score there is. And a 10 out of 10 is a perfect score. I'd give this a 7 out of 10. Now, you'll notice in my Ready Player One review that I gave the book 5 out of 5 and the movie 4 out of 5. Because Ready Player One was both a book and a movie, I split the 10 score up. But being that this is, as of right now, just a book, just an audiobook, I'm going to give it, out of a 10 score, a 7 out of 10. I would recommend this to other people, that if you are looking for a science fiction story and you're a fan of the type of narrative that Ready Player One had, that this would be a good choice for something similar to Ready Player One. I'm not very familiar with a whole lot of books that tell a story from the POV of a character. Like I said, in my experience, the only one I've read so far is Ready Player One, which does that. Most books I've listened to always tell the story from a third party's perspective, like the invisible audience, the invisible companion. So, would you like to have your audiobook reviewed on this channel? If you do, my email address will be in the description below. Send me an email and along with an MP3 of your audiobook, whether it's chapter by chapter or the entire thing. If you can fit the entire thing into an email, I think most people can only put like 1 or 2 chapters per email. So you can start just sending off 1 or 2 chapters at a time. It's really up to you. I don't charge anything for reviews, so send me your audiobooks and I'll review them. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to review paperback or ebooks. I can't stress that enough. I really don't have the time. Being an author myself, trying to constantly work on this channel, work on my writing, work on my business, I just don't have the time. But I do have the time to listen while I work. So, I want to do more of these. I like listening to audiobooks, and I don't mind doing reviews on my honest thoughts. So, please, if you want that, email me. Let me know. This has been a review for My Mom, the Intergalactic Terrorist by Madison Rosapal. And I really do recommend it to you. It's not that expensive on Amazon. The paperback is $10. It's not bad. It's actually a little cheaper than my books. The audiobook is only $17.46 on Audible. You get a discount if you already have an Audible membership. I want to thank you all for watching. If you can, please subscribe to my channel. Check out my book series, The Guardian of Light. A link will be in the description below. Again, thank you for watching, and happy writing.